everybody. Hello everybody. This is me trying to get myself arranged comfortably on the sofa, which I've really enjoyed sitting talking to you from. Let me just see if I can arrange myself a bit better. It's kind of, I'd have to try and not get the light on my glasses. Anybody who wears glasses and does YouTube, you have my sympathy, because if I sit too towards the windows, I just get a big shine on my glasses and then you can't really see me properly, and I don't think that's very good. So this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. I sort of sit here like this and I talk to myself a little bit before I actually get going with the filming, and I have a bit of shuffle and a bit of a fiddle. Anyway, welcome back to my studio. It's fantastic to have you here. It's an absolutely gorgeous spring morning out there. Suddenly all the flowers are coming up. The hawthorn, my favourite, I think it's my favourite hawthorn, what's the word I'm trying to say? My favourite shrub or hedgerow plant, I think, is the hawthorn. It's a very sort of, it's a kind of a humble plant, if you like, but it comes out at this time of year with such a beautiful green, and the little leaves just kind of unfold, and I just love it because it's absolutely the sign that spring is here, and it's wonderful. So I've got all sorts of colours coming up in the garden now. There's lots of blues to go with the yellows, and it's just lovely. I mean, who knows, we could have snow next week. One never knows what's going to happen in this country, do we? If anybody in the UK, in fact around the world, let's face it, the weather is its own boss these days. Mother Earth has got her own little plan going on. Personally, I think she's kind of going through the menopause, really. She's kicking off a bit. She's had enough of us lot, and she's kicking off a bit, and she's saying, "Oi, you lot, wake up." So anyway, that's neither here nor there. As I say, I'm on my lovely pink sofa because I felt like this is the last part. I think we'll get this done today of this beautiful pink piece, and I've so enjoyed doing it. I'm so grateful to you for all your comments, because it's been really interesting to hear people actually, you know, spotting straight away that it was a flower. I think probably before I had even. And the ideas of the different flowers that were coming out, magnolias and roses and all these beautiful pink things. And last week it was about the ice cream, the gelato, the ice cream sort of, I think the raspberry ripple bit was particularly evocative. I could almost taste it myself. It's a little bit, it'll probably get a bit less so as we get stitching into it. That'll kind of bring the surface together in a different way. So, but I hope you've enjoyed doing it. It's been a really fun thing to pull together from nowhere with a box of fabrics, just showing you again what happens when you just play. It's a bit like life. We all take life so seriously, and honestly, this last week, I don't know where I've been. I don't know whether it's what's going on with the planets. I know there's been a full moon. I don't know whether that's been affecting me, but I've been a little bit not quite together with myself, not quite sure where I'm going or what I'm doing, whereas usually I'm quite focused because I'm doing my filming and I'm doing the making. It's like, I think we're just not in control of anything anymore, and we'll have to just ride the waves of whatever's happening. That seems to be it at the moment. So I think being down here, I have to say, has been my anchor. Knowing that I'm making a film for you is just such a joy, because that keeps me, you know, it gives me a purpose, a raison d'etre, and I just love doing it for you. And if you enjoy it, if it brings you any relaxation, if you get inspired, and please do let me know if you're inspired to make something. A lovely lady told me she'd been making a needle case from one of my earlier videos, and that's just fantastic. It just makes me go, ooh, I'm having an effect. It's having an effect on somebody if they're going off and being inspired to make something. I get to enjoy it. I enjoy the making very much. I enjoy the filming. I enjoy the editing. And if somebody gets it and goes off and makes something as well, that's like the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the top of the icing on the cake. So thank you again. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your thumbs up. It all helps spread the word of the channel, and it supports me in what I'm doing. And it gives me that little frisson of excitement, and knowing that I'm not just sitting here talking to myself is just lovely. You know, we all need each other. We all need to be liked. We all need to be seen, don't we? And it took such a lot of courage to do this thing in the first place, and I just love doing it. So thank you again. And I think, without further ado, I can't think of any other excuses not to just to go and get onto my sewing machine over there and get cracking. What else? What else can I say? Come on. What I love is just how each stitch changes the surface. So it's gone from this kind of soft, bubbly quality of being embellished to this kind of, it's not smooth, it's got a texture to it still, but I love how the light bounces around the surface once you get the stitching on it, because the stitches are all going in different directions. It just affects how the light changes on, lands on the surface, which I love. Okay, so I have switched threads now. I've moved off the yellow colour and I've got a gorgeous sort of cerise pink that I'm going to use next. And I'm going to start down here. So I'm working from this area outwards. It doesn't really matter where you start as long as you kind of work outwards from where you are, so that the fabric has a chance to sort of settle down, if you like. So you don't get big lumpy bumpy bits. And it's rather fun, I have to say. End off. So already that's smoothing out this, smoothing it out so it's all becoming sort of one level. And I've chosen a pink that kind of goes with most of these shades down here, but there'll be sufficient difference in it between the thread and the base fabric that it'll just add a little bit of depth of colour to it. So it's not, sorry, I keep getting these little bits everywhere. It's not just bland one shade. And you could be adding more colours. You could be adding two or three pinks if you wanted to. It's just a question of how much stitching you want to do. And you don't have to do this amount of stitching, obviously, but it just does help blend it all together. And quite honestly, what better way to spend the day than just doing this? I don't sit for hours and hours, I will be honest, because I don't think that's very good for my back. I'll maybe do about an hour of this and then I might come back to it later on or something like that. Or I'll just do an hour and then go away and do a different job, if you like, a different thing to do. And I do stop regularly. If I'm doing this intensity of stitching, I do stop regularly and I kind of get up and dance around a bit and move my body, because otherwise you'd get very stuck and very stiff. And I don't think that's a very good idea, do you? This is very like colouring in, don't you think? And it doesn't matter if you go over the lines, but for this particular one, I kind of want them to be fairly crisp. I want the colours to be fairly crisp, especially this bit where there's this huge contrast between the yellow and the pink. I kind of want it to be just clear. Okay, so this bit I'm now working on the black and multicoloured bit, if you like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin these stalks back a little bit. I'm just going to peel them back from where I've got them pinned. Just pin them out of the way. So I'm kind of holding their position, if you like, but I'm just getting them out of the way. And I'm choosing, I've decided, because it's almost quite, if I just bring you in a little bit, see if I bring you in a bit, you can see there's lots of different colours here. So there's this mustardy yellow again, and there's a sort of a pinky maroony sort of colour here, and there's black, of course. So I'm going to just have fun with this bit. I'm going to put pink where I fancy pink, mostly over the pink bits, but it can go over the black bits where the black is quite see-through. So I'm just going to enjoy this bit. It's going to be fun. It's going to be just whatever comes, and I'll do different colours on it, so that there'll be this nice mixing of the threads. So. And of course, if you didn't stitch all of this bit down, and I suppose this is true of the whole piece, but particularly this lace, it's quite textured already because of the way the lace is made. you could end up with a nice textured surface. So you could just be stitching, say, the pink bits and leave the black bits kind of standing more proud. So you could create a nice bit of texture that way. I think that'll be quite nice. We'll have to see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. I may well change my mind. I always sort of say, you know, I reserve the right to change my mind on whatever it is I'm doing, because that's part of the process, I think. As you start, new ideas will come to you because you'll see new possibilities. And if you just go slowly and work your way through whatever it is you're making, you know, it allows those possibilities to come up and be seen, and then you can decide which way you're going to go with it. And there's lots of different ways you can do things. I'm just going to have fun with this bit. So just in case you're wondering how I'm managing with these stalky bits, I'm basically just folding them back from where they were. I'm kind of keeping them pinned roughly in position, so I know roughly where they were, because I had them quite nicely laid out, and I don't particularly want to lose that. Although it doesn't really matter, they will end up slightly differently placed. But I'm just folding them back and then stitching underneath, and then those stalks will get put back on. Stalks, you know, stamens. Stamen stalks will get put back across the pink. The other thing I love is, as I get stitching more and more, this becomes stiffer. And I know I've said this before, I love this sound that you get when you get lots of stitching on it. So I'm starting to roll up this side a little bit so that I can actually have something to hold on to, which makes it easier for stitching as well. And I'm just loving how it's gradually, the stitching is moving out from this area, and it's gradually taking over and gradually sort of bringing the piece together inch by inch. And it's such a lovely process. I'm just having such a lovely time. One of these projects where I probably forget to go and have lunch, and I forget to go and do the washing, and I forget to do all the other jobs that seem to need doing, because I'm just so wrapped up in this, and it just takes my head out of anything, any other issues, any problems that I've got going on. I just stop thinking about it, because all I'm thinking about is where my stitching is going and how it's coming together so nicely. So I've moved now onto the paler pink area, and somebody commented beautifully that this looked like gelato, and I thought, ice cream, raspberry ripple, very much so. I could almost taste the flavour there, that you can just imagine the jam running through it, or whatever it is they use to make the raspberry ripple bit with it. So I'm really excited about this bit because it's going to be lots of different colours, I think, and I'm enjoying the challenge of trying to work out what's going to go where. It makes it really interesting to do. It's not just stitching, it's working out which areas I'm going to do what colour of pink, because it's very much, this piece is just so much about pink, isn't it? It really is. The other colours are just there to sort of make the pink stand out more. Okay, so this is the back of my piece now. You can see, I think you can see all the stitching that I've done on it. There's a few gaps here. That's because I haven't quite finished. I've got some cerise pink to go onto here. But what I'm doing now is, let's try and get it so you can see this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trimming off the tearaway stabilizer from the back. And all I'm doing is I'm just kind of looking at where this fabric, the backing fabric, comes to. And I'm just trimming the tearaway fabric to that sort of shape, that size as it were. And that'll give me a nice edge, and then I can turn all these little bits of fabric. All these little bits of fabric can then be turned over, and we'll get a neater edge. It won't be, you know, completely straight or anything, but it will be going to get this into the so it won't be a completely like straight and neat edge, but it will be a little bit tidier, and then that'll show off what's on the other side, I think, better. I really love the back. I just love this heavily stitched surface. It's really attractive to my eye, because all you can see is the colours and the changes of colours, because I've used, and you can see the different shades of under thread that I've used. bobbin thread, I should say. So this is the top side now, which you can see is all nicely stitched down. There may be some more bits to do here and there, but bits that I've missed. But the main bit is I need to do my edges now, because in order to bring the stitching right to the edge, I want to know exactly where the edge is. And I've decided, quite categorically, I have chosen to turn my edges in rather than leaving them all raggedy, which would be very nice, but actually I think for these pieces at the moment, I feel as though I want people to focus on the imagery, if you like, on the main body of the piece and not on the edges. So these are just going to get turned in quite simply and pinned. And this is a very nice, relaxing thing to do. Very quiet and peaceful here today. There's nothing happening out there really, except spring. Spring is coming. And it's brightened up. It was actually quite a dull day to start with this morning, and I thought it was just going to rain. But now it's quite bright, which is nice. So I've come down to do some sewing and some filming, because I would like to get this piece sorted and finished. You get to the point where you're just thinking, oh, I just really want to see this done now. But I'm still enjoying the process. It's still a nice, slow process. I kind of know where I'm going with it, obviously, because I've now got to this point. But I still don't know what I'm going to be doing exactly with these. I don't know exactly how I'm going to stitch the stamens down. And, you know, little questions like that are remaining. So I've still got some things to answer, some curiosity to satisfy as to how exactly it's all going to pull together. Now you see that's got a little bit missing. There's a little bit of a gap of fabric there, so I'll have to fudge a bit into there. I'll perhaps embellish a little bit more onto there and stitch it down. So I shall carry on with this, and then I'll get these edges stitched, and then we'll know much better where we are with it. It's quite exciting. Okay, so I'll try and get this so you can see the edges. I've got them all nicely stitched down now, all the way along here, all the way around all the four sides. And if I just turn this over for you, you can see the back again, and you can see all I've done simply is turn those raggedy edges in. I haven't tried to neaten them or anything. I've just simply turned them over and made sure they were pinned and stitched. So that's really exciting. I love it when it gets to this stage. It takes on a whole sort of, it's got its own life now. It's its own life form, if you like. It's become a thing. It's become a cloth in a way. I look back to when I used to do quilting. I kind of got into textiles really through wanting to make quilted surfaces, through making texture, through quilting. And I wasn't very good at quilting, I'll be honest with you, but I loved the effect of particularly hand quilted surfaces. I found really exciting and interesting. But my machine quilting was a bit rubbish really. I wasn't very good at it. But when I look at this and I think this is what excites me now, is getting away from that sort of neatness that I was involved in with doing quilting. It seemed very neat. It had to be, you know, patchworked and quilted. And I think quilting is fantastic. Please don't get me wrong. I think it's wonderful. And I'm sure there's a space for me as a quilter possibly if I now applied what I know now to quilting, say. But anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a digression there. But it's interesting to see how it becomes, as I say, it becomes a cloth in its own right. It becomes a thing because I've stitched it so heavily and because it's got a body to it. It's really lovely. I love it when it's like this. So I think the next thing will be getting onto these stamens. I haven't quite worked out exactly how, you know, they're going to come together. At the moment I've just got raggedy bits of fabric pretending to be anthers at the moment, and I'm not sure whether that's going to remain the case. But I'm going to stop here for now because I think this is quite enough for one video, and I don't want to rush the next part. I think it's really important that I just take my time and feel my way into how these are actually going to show up on this piece. So I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I know it's a very long, slow process, but I hope you're enjoying that with me. It's so exciting to see how the pieces change from being just, you know, random scraps of fabric to becoming an actual thing with an identity of its own. So thank you very much for joining me here. I will see you again next week, and who knows what it's going to turn out like. Bye for now.
Bye now.